Make every night a wonderful journey, no matter where you are. Good night, sweet dreams. The first story, Abrasiveness. The next day, humankind will develop further. The next day, humankind will develop faster intelligence. Genetics, technology all grow exponentially. For the moment it is all for the cause of benefit. There are newfangled machines, tiny machines which may help a medical patient, may prevent death. There are different machines, larger ones to help humankind to relax, to unravel their minds in order to think of more ways to develop. Logically, there will come a point at which development will cease to cause benefit, for all the benefits shall have been satisfied. That which science acknowledgeth, yet is intangible to human hands, will be penetrated, maimed by the orderly and sharp nails of humankind's hands. Time. Humankind recognizes time to be powerful for it. Nature dictates humankind to be a dangerous species, and that its curiosity and crave for progress spreads a dark falling hazard upon all, with its point of gravity placed upon humankind itself. Time shall not tamper and must not be tampered with. Fiction has tampered with the image, a reflection of time burnt onto a white canvas. Suddenly, a new machine. Suddenly, a dark fuel, a loud and abrasive tear. Time has been punctured, and there will be no adhesive strong enough to reattach its weakly limping tatters. There are two women, Catherine Smith, Stetsuna Mizugawa, and two men, David Hart, Abel Tennant. There is one capsule ship named Osmanthus. The four rebellious entities violated the taboo of existence, violated the guardian of life, violated reality. They flew, seamlessly, unwavering and coldly, through time's ever-growing fetus. The four heretics did not repent. Therefore, time must perish. Flawless time has been eradicated. A blemish has occurred which threatens to spread. A sepsis that will create a twisting tesseract of putrid pain. Aboard Osmanthus, the four entities attempt to understand the stationary blankness in which they stand. They are frightened. Terrestrial knowledge has not prepared them for this. Time has vanished. There is no more life. There is no more matter. There is no more space. All which remains is the transparent pocket in which the four heretics and their ship will inhabit. A shattered fragment of time dwells within that pocket to keep the four humans speaking, living and thinking. Epiphany. A woman says, "We have destroyed infinity." Then a man says, "We have tampered with existence." The other woman says, "We are still living." And the other man says, "For this is our punishment." For thin, intelligent heretics sat down atop their ship, watched a blank colorlessness, never aging, never dying, never moving. For this is their punishment. Their singular existence darkly pains them. After eternity, time's final fragment will collapse and vanish. Existence, time, reality are one. The second story, Health Insurance. To Daniel Rio, from The Love of My Life, at 1:53 p.m. Baby, could you pick up some milk on your way home? To The Love of My Life, from Daniel Rio at 1:54 p.m. Yeah, that's fine. To Daniel Rio, from The Love of My Life at 1:54 p.m. What's wrong, honey? Still caught up on that hole, I think. To The Love of My Life, from Daniel Rio at 3 p.m. Yeah. I'm not seeing it so much anymore, but it still bothers me every now and then. 5 p.m. Don't worry about it, you. Ray just paranoid. How about I make you a nice cup of coffee when you get home from work? 2. The love of my life, from Daniel Rio at 5 p.m. That would be nice. Yeah, make sure it's not decaf. Though love you. 2. Daniel Rio, for love of my life at 6 p.m. Okay, no problem. Love you, honey. 2. Daniel Rio, from the love of my life at 3:28 p.m. Hey honey, someone just tried calling for you. I didn't recognize the number, but they left a voicemail. It was just heavy breathing, and someone said to check your work computer. I think maybe one of your drinking buddies was pulling a prank, but it's still really weird and I'm kind of nervous. 2. The love of my life, from Daniel Rio at 3:30 p.m. What was the number? Make sure to keep the voicemail. I'll look at it when I get home. 2. Daniel Rio, from the love of my life at 3:40 p.m. They said something about judgment and stuff. I don't know what to think of it. 2. The love of my life, from Daniel Rio at 3:51 p.m. It sounds like a prank caller to me. Don't worry about it. 2. Daniel Rio, from the love of my life at 3:52 p.m. Okay, they also sent me a picture. Here it is. Attached file. JUDDEMENTJPZ. 2. The love of my life, from Daniel Rio at 3:56 p.m. What number sent that to you? 2. For p.m. It was some 303 number. 2. Daniel Rio, from the love of my life at 4:17 p.m. Someone just knocked on the door. They left an envelope with some pictures in it there. People I don't recognize. One is of a woman that looks like she's in her late teens. Another one is of a little boy who can't be older than 9. And then the last one is an old woman. Something's not right about them. It's like these pictures were taken after they were dead. 2. Daniel Rio, from the love of my life at 4:20 p.m. And there's a note. All it says is JUDCEDEMENT. 2. The love of my life, from Daniel Rio at 4:46 p.m. Cheyenne, I want you to take the kids and get the fuck out of there right fucking now. There's not much time. Just go fucking go, for the love of God. Leave the house. Take everything you can. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. Oh God, oh God, oh God. 2. Daniel Rio, from the love of my life at 4:47 p.m. Baby, what's going on? 2. Daniel Rio, from the love of my life at 5:32 p.m. Donnie, are you okay? 2. Daniel Rio, from the love of my life at 5:47 p.m. Daniel, this isn't funny. Now, from Daniel Rio at 6:29 p.m. on January 6, 1994, Daniel Rio denied a young woman. It claimed the aforementioned woman was a 26-year-old by the name Laurendale. She suffered from heart conditions and severe head trauma. Through Daniel's denial of her claim, she died a few days later from heart failure. Her family could not afford her funeral arrangements. They went into poverty. Her father committed suicide. Her mother became an alcoholic on October 18, 2004. Daniel Rio denied a cancer patient's parents a claim. Said cancer patient was 6 years old, he had cancer in his lungs. He died by suffocating 1 month later, 3 days before he was to turn 7. His name was Jacob Moore on March 12, 2008. Daniel Rio denied an elderly woman a claim. She required a kidney transplant and removal of her appendix. She died a week later by committing suicide. She hung herself from the rafters of the assisted living home she lived in. The rope was made out of organic matter. These claims would have been approved by company policy if Daniel Rio had not intervened. Daniel Rio will never claim another life. The third story. I don't see him anymore. I used to see him often. Well, I guess I shouldn't say him. More like it then. I like it then I moved away. To another state. Another city. I don't see it anymore. Not physically. Though it creeps through my mind in its swooping. Sinking way high up in the air one moment. Then sliding across the ground the next. Over and over and over. Its limbs propelling it forward. The mere thought sends ice cold shivers running down my spine. It used to watch me, but it can't anymore, at least. I don't think it can. I wouldn't be surprised, however, to wake in the early hours of the day when the sky is still dark, and look to my window to see those eyes, those teeth. See it smile, that awful smile. I hope I'm dead before that day arises. I hope I've seen the last of that monster. When I was little, I lived in a small suburban neighborhood. It isn't the kind you're probably thinking of, brother. Big white, uniform houses all lined up in perfect rows with green lawns into garage doors. No, my neighborhood was much older. It was built sometime in the 50s and every house looked different. But most had started to fall apart. The people living there were hard-working and honest for the most part, and their long, hard lives showed on their faces. No one really talked to anyone else. That was one of the only things I didn't like about that neighborhood. My mother always said the neighbors just liked to keep to themselves, that they had nothing very important to say. Anyway, looking back on it now, I think they did have something important to say. Something very, very important. I saw it for the first time when I was 8 years old. During the summer, it was very hot that season. Unusually so compared to all the summers I've had since then. So I'd stayed inside most of the morning then. After lunch, my father hooked up the sprinkler we used for our garden in our backyard. I excitedly got into plate clothes and rushed outside. Into the blinding sun. Those were the days. Those innocent days in the sun where I played without a care. I had no idea I would soon be missing them. So I was outside, running and laughing and jumping through the cool spray of water. When I saw it at first, I didn't notice it was just a rustle in the bushes. Then it was the crack of a branch and I looked up. Something dark moved through those leaves, something as black as midnight. Yet it shimmered when the sun hit it as it ran or galloped. To this day, I'm still not sure what to call it, from a small forest behind my house, leapt over my neighbor's fence and disappeared from my view. I was curious, so I chased it. The pavement burned my feet, but I didn't care. I watched, along with a few other neighborhood children, as the creature swept in and out of the shadows of trees, making its way down the street. It was large, probably about 8 feet tall if it stood upright, though it never did. Instead, it stayed hunched over, its hind legs curled up at its sides, the knees protruding grotesquely past its torso. Large, white, curled claws grew from bony feet and long, slender fingers. Its arms were gnarled, the joints bulging under twisted muscle and skin. skin that was black and rubbery stretched thin over whatever bones the beast had. It caved in at odd places and almost looked as if it were rotting. Still, when it crept through the sun, patches glistened grey and blue, as if it were made of some kind of foreign glass. Then there was its face. The skin was the same, stretched over an oblong oval skull that jutted out in the back. Its eyes were sunken deep within its head, large and round and hollow. They glowed a weird white yellow, one I'm sure doesn't have a name to this day. Really, it wasn't even glowing, it was more of a pulsating, ever-present light that seemed to come straight from some non-existent so deep within the monster's core. It always seemed to smile. Its mouth was stretched, like its skin, far across its face. You know the expression, grinning ear to ear? It was literal in this case, each corner reaching each side of its face, where ears would have been if it had any within this smile were two rows of pure white teeth, long and sharp. In fact, each tooth was so long it could never close its mouth. The sharp tips just sea-lacked against each other as it skulked around, waving its head slowly from side to side, as if sniffing something in the air. I used to find this silly, since it had no nose. Now the thought terrifies me. We kids just watched it in a sort of dazed amazement, never having seen something like it before. I suppose I thought it was just some species I had yet to learn about in school. I wish that's all it had been then. Our parents called us back inside for dinner and we grudgingly obeyed, not wanting to get in trouble. I'm not sure about the other kids, but I never quite forgot about the creature I'd seen. I got preoccupied with other things, sure, but its image was always in the back of my mind, burning there, waiting for me to remember it late at night while I tried to drift off to sleep. It got its wish. That night I was lying in bed with my covers pulled up to my chin, despite how hot, as the nightlight across the room barely gave me comfort from the thoughts of ghouls and ghosts hiding in my closet or under my bed. Then the beast's image slipped into my thoughts. I gripped the covers. It hadn't scared me before, yet I'd been mere feet away from it. But now, after having the image sit in my mind all day, my brain registering its unworldly appearance, I started to fear it. It was bad, I knew that now. Then I heard it tap. I froze. Another tap. I didn't dare move then. There was another and another and another. It was at my window. I could hear its long claws scrape across the glass, hear its razor-sharp fangs as they clicked together. I could hear its breathing heavy, husky, in and out, in and out. Finally, I could no longer bear it. I tore my eyes from my nightlight and gazed through the dark room towards my window. It smiled when its unmade, impossibly huge grin that split its face in two, white teeth glistening with saliva, gleaming eyes, seeming to pull every fear from my conscious and unconscious to the surface. I screamed by the time my parents rushed into my room. It was gone, no traces of its existence left behind. They said it was just a nightmare. It wasn't just a nightmare. I never saw it in the daytime again, but I saw it every night. After a week I stopped screaming. I just cried silently in my bed. Then, after another week, I stopped crying. It knew I was scared. I wasn't going to give it the satisfaction of seeing me tremble. It wasn't until it found the lock on my window that I was truly terrified. I'll never forget the clunk the lock made when it had been moved for the first time in years, or the wailing screech of the window as it slid open, or the heavy breathing at my bedside. I'll never forget those eyes as they gazed at me from beyond my covers. It knew I was scared. It thrived on that. It wouldn't leave me alone. Everyone says I went crazy, but I didn't. It just wouldn't leave me alone. I hardly ever slept. My hair started to fall out, and I always looked tired. My parents put me here, in this psychiatric hospital. It's a nut house. That's what it is. I'm not crazy. It's been years. The nightmares still happen when I do sleep, so they keep me here. I suppose I like it better this way. Though after all, the monster can't get me here, you know. The funny thing, I can't even remember where I used to live. I can't remember the state or the city. I can't even remember the country.